4,500 lectures, and in every case I was winging it. So today I'm going to try that because we've got about 90 remote people joining us from all across the country, and in fact all across the globe, from Australia and Germany and other places. So I want them to be able to follow along with us. If you could just turn to this page of your notes, which is the second sheet, inside sheet. See it? I just want to bring your attention to something very special. Q&A. I know you're all going to have some questions tonight. I want to answer all of them. If you can hold them till 8:15, that'd be really great. Because there's an excellent chance that your questions are going to be answered in the course of my lecture, number one. And number two, usually the questions are of our left brain nature, and I'm going to be in a right brain state. I hate to leave that state until I have to. Okay, so if you have any questions, copy them down, and I'll be more than happy to answer in the last 45 minutes of my presentation tonight. If any of you have any personal questions that you don't feel comfortable posing in front of the group, I'll be hanging around for a while tonight too in case you want to talk to me. Plus I have some representatives here that you can talk to who are just as knowledgeable about things as I am. Rama, could you hit the next slide, please? And if you could turn to the next page in your notes. Okay, first of all, there's a few people I need to introduce. You've probably heard, and John, you can go ahead and kill that music if you want to. Thank you. Did you see that little CD we gave you? That's the coolest business card there is. The questions, I've been traveling the country for 32 years, teaching new authors to write their books and get them published. And I got to tell you, about 95% of the time, I get the same question or same comment over and over and over and over again. Gee, I've been trying to write, but I'm blocked. Anyone here ever have writer's block? How do you get over it? How do you get into a book? So I think it was Rama's idea about a year ago. He goes, man, we should just take your CD on getting people over writer's block and hand it out as a business card. So what we've got, that little CD you've got, it's got 3 tracks in it. Okay? First track is an introduction by Rama. Second track is a relaxation technique by me to get you into the author within zone state. Third track is a 19-minute track, subliminal track, that keeps you in the author within state. Now, how many of you have ever been in that state where words have just poured out of you? That's why you're here, isn't it? Because you know there's something there, and you felt it, and it's touched you. But you don't know what it is, don't know how to get to it, and it won't go away. Have you noticed that? It won't go away. In a lot of ways, it's your best friend, it's your worst enemy at the same time, because it never gives up on you. Damn it, it never gives up on you, right? So that little CD will enable you to become the author you want to be by simply turning it on every time you want to write. Follow the relaxation exercise. As you begin to write, just keep the subliminal playing and you'll stay in the state. You know, the retreats that we've been teaching now for the last 2 years, write your publishable book in a weekend. We've got a significant name across the country as a result of that. A lot of people are talking about us. And I intercept an email every once in a while that inappropriately falls in my box with somebody comparing us to the Ginzu knife, you know. And what I could see is that we have established that it's possible. You know, 100% of the people who have come through our retreats in the last 2 years have finished their books. 100% of the people. 80% now are not only coming through and finishing the books, but having them revised by the end of the retreat. So there's a huge desire for what we have. And I bet you have a desire to write a book too, whether you want to do it or not. You want to get it out, right? Okay. So you've got a huge desire, but there's also a lot of deliberation. And this class tonight is structured like a mini retreat to bridge the gap between your doubt and your expectations and your desires. So I'm going to show you everything you need to know to do this. I'm going to show you why it works. I'm going to show you how it works. We're going to do some writing tonight in class to prove to you that you can tap into this side anytime you want. And it all begins and ends, not only with our instruction, but that little CD of a business card you got tonight. You turn that in, tune that on, you'll stay in that state for as long as you want to be there. The retreats that we have, people write for 8 to 10 hours a day. And it sounds grueling. It's not once you get into that author within zone state. It's not a grueling experience. It's a very quantum experience where you're into the flow, you're doing what you need to do at the right time, the right way, right speed. So, but the key is, we play that CD all day long, the one that was playing when you came in. We play it all day long. Now, I got to tell you this little story about that CD because it's such a Sedona story. So you're going to hear a coyote on that CD, and you know who Michelle Branch is? Sedona resident Michelle Branch became an award-winning vocalist. Well, when I wanted to make that CD and a few other CDs, I wanted to hire the best producer I could find in Sedona. So I went to her producer. His name was Gary Bedham, a great guy. And Gary and I kind of knew each other because Sedona is such a small town, you know everybody even though you don't. But I didn't know him really well or personally. And I went over to his studio to record the CD, and Gary said to me, met me at the door with a very solemn look on his face, and said, something happened last night. It involved you, and we need to talk. I know, I barely know the guy, right? So I'm like, okay. I was kind of stunned. Takes me into his studio. We sit down on the couch, and he begins to tell me a story. He said, see that window across there? He points to this window across the room that leads to the side yard. I said, yes. He goes, last night, during the monsoon rains, a coyote came and sat right under that window, and it started to howl, incessantly howl, and it wouldn't stop. So he goes, I went over to the window, peeked out to see if the coyote was hurt, to see if it was calling out in pain, and it seemed fine to me, so I walked away. But it kept howling. So I went back another half an hour later, and I sat down. I pulled a chair over to the window, and I sat down. And I said to the coyote, and again, this is Gary speaking to me. He goes, I said to the coyote, what do you want? The coyote communicated telepathically to Gary. No, in Sedona, this is normal, right? We don't need cell phones. The coyote said to me, I want to be on Tom's CD tomorrow. So Gary says, it's up to you whether you want the coyote on your CD or not. So you will hear a coyote on the CD, and it's the one that Gary recorded that night. Okay? So I want to introduce a few people before we get started. The first person I want to introduce is Rama John Kogan. Some of you probably know Rama. He's been in town, 26, 27 years, Rama? Long time. He's a lifer. He's doing mountain bike heaven. Rama's been working with me for the last 2.5 years, and we've been expanding in a failing economy exponentially. We've been doing great. And one of the reasons we can is because of Rama. He's invaluable. He is the oil that makes our engine run. He brings everything together. He's also in charge of our publishing program. And the reason I tell you about Rama is because if you have questions on publishing, he's the guy you want to call. You can call me. There's a good chance I'll just turn the phone over to Rama because that's what he handles. He's invaluable to us. He's invaluable. And he loves talking to people about books. When Rama, I went mountain bike heaven one time. It was about 4 months before he closed his store. I went in and I was getting something fixed on a bike, something simple that I didn't want to get my hands dirty with. And I noticed there was a book playing in the background, a recording of a book. And Rama told me, he goes, I listen to books all day long. He goes, I put them on at night when I sleep and I listen to them. This is what the man's meant to do. So if you need anything, he's the guy to call. Also, Gwen Payne. I want to introduce Gwen. Gwen, you want to stand up, please? Some of you may know Gwen. Gwen's lived in town about 7 years, too. Every summer, we reevaluate everything we do as a business. And a lot of years, we don't change anything. This last summer, we looked at things, and actually the summer before, and I looked and thought, we had one problem with the retreats. It wasn't that people weren't getting their books done because they were getting them done. One problem we had is when they went home, they kind of fell off the wagon. They weren't doing as well as they were in the retreats. So I thought, we got to accomplish more in the retreats. We got to get books revised. But we don't want to lengthen the retreat anymore because people have a difficult time finding 3 consecutive days in their life anyway. So I said, we got to get deeper. What can we do? And I thought of Gwen. Now, I've known Gwen for about 5 years. And she's a transitional life specialist. She works with body, mind, and she removes blockages. I thought, I bet if we get Gwen involved, we can take people to an even deeper level, and we'll pick up that extra day or so we need without lengthening the retreat so people can get their books written, so they're not going to spend 2 years at home revising a book that took them a day and a half to write. Gwen joined us back in August, actually, in a Sedona retreat, and the writing speed of our students went up immediately by 35%. She's worked individually an awful lot with some of our authors as well too. And her and a colleague of hers by the name of Deborah Diane do amazing work. There was a student of ours by the name of M.J. De La Pena who written 3 books through our retreats. And she'd done well with her books, but she hadn't become a bestseller and things hadn't really broke for her yet. And MJ came to the August retreat, and MJ and I are good friends. And I could talk to her and really tell her what was going on. She goes, Tom, I just feel unblocked. I said, it's an internal thing. There's a part of you that doesn't feel like you deserve to succeed or that no one really wants to hear what you have to say. And she said, what do you think I should do? I said, well, it's kind of a pulling a Band-Aid off one hair at a time type of approach or quickly. I said, I think you should go to Gwen and Deborah Diane and have them just go in and remove whatever psychological, emotional, spiritual stuff you got in the way. And I said, I think you'll feel better. So she stayed over an extra day and went through a process with Deborah Diane and Gwen. And within that period of time, which was about a month and a half, her practice, her law practice, took off to such a point where it's now one of the top 100 law firms in the country in a month and a half. Remember Robert Wagner? He called her because he wanted to option 2 of her books for movies. Once you remove that internal stuff that stands in our way, her good energy went to work for her. If any of you are having experienced any type of blocks and you just want to go about getting removed quickly, easily, Gwen's the one you want to call. And here's her number. She's a constant in the retreats too. She goes to all of our retreats. We've been trying her out this fall to see how things would work. They've been working wonderfully, so she'll be part of all our retreats in 2014. And then me, I've authored 26 books. Rama, you want to go to the next screen, please? And if you've noticed on your notes, we've left a lot of room for you to take notes. So if in case any inspirations come through, you want to write them down, you've got paper to do it with. My experience, let me just tell you where everything comes from. I never had a midlife crisis because I always knew what I wanted to do with my life. I knew from the age of 4 that I wanted to be an author. And I had very caring parents that didn't try to push me in any direction. They just told me, they said, find out what you like to do it, and the money and the career will fall behind. And I did, took their advice. However, what I found was that no matter how much I studied, when I went to a university back east in Pennsylvania, small state school with an supposedly excellent writing program called Slippery Rock State University. You all heard of it? I'm sure, yeah. Nod your head, you think I'm making this stuff up. Well, I graduated with 2 majors and a minor in 4 years, graduate with honors, and I thought that coming out of college, I was first generation college. Out of all my family, I was the first one to go to college. So I was very naive. I thought that I would leave and be able to become the author I wanted to be. What I found out pretty quickly was within 6 months of leaving the university, I was actually a lot worse of a writer than I was when I was 18. But I read every book I could find on writing. I used to be a PR man for the Pittsburgh Pirates, a big league baseball team, who until this year was pretty lousy. Since when I joined them in 1979, when I joined them, we won the World Series my first year. So what that means is I got the opportunity to be in the company of some of the world's best sports writers, well-published, best-selling authors. And I took advantage of that opportunity by asking those people, how do you become a best-selling author? How do you become an author? How do you write a book? How do you sell a book? And none of them really seemed to know. It all seemed to be based on superstition. So long story short, for 4 years I bumbled around trying to find out how to become the author I felt I already was inside. And how many of you feel like you're an author inside already? Raise your hands high. You should be proud of that fact. It takes a lot of balls to be here. For every person that's here, there's 100 out in Sedona that would like to be here but don't have the intestinal fortitude you do. That's great. So the experience. So finally, out of desperation, man, I just got down on my knees one night after a baseball game. I came home to my 1-bedroom apartment. It was 12:30 at night. I felt like such a fraud because I was living a life that wasn't mine. And I knew what I wanted to do and I wasn't following through on it, So I got down on my knees and just said, I don't know how to do this. I know you know how to do it. If you show me how to do it, I'll do it. And I'll tell other people how to do it too. 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night from a dream, with the dream still lingering in my mind. And in that dream, I could see exactly not only how to write a book, but how to publish a book. 6 weeks later, I sold my first book, tripled my salary, and left the job for good. I started teaching because I didn't really realize how many people wanted to write. But, according to the New York Times, 81% of Americans feel they've got a book stuck inside them they need to get out. 81%. 81%. Aristotle said, to live a full and complete life, every human being needs to do 3 things. Build a house, raise a child, no matter how dysfunctionally you do it, and write a book. You know what I've discovered, folks? I've done sweat lodges, I've done mystery hikes, I've done all kinds of major transformational work. I've been married a few times. Lord knows that was a lot of transformation. Maybe not necessarily in the right direction. I've done everything but drugs. Not that I'm leaning in that direction yet. But the biggest transformational experience that I've ever had, which I get to witness continually throughout my years, is through the writing of a book in a weekend. Writing of a book is a great thing, but the writing of a book in a weekend is the greatest thing. You know why? Because you write so damn fast over that weekend, you don't make any room for that left brain to come in and tell you what it's dying to tell you, which has led you away from who you are up to this point. You know what I'm saying? So this morning, in meditation, I thought, what's the message that I want to share with this group tonight? What's the message they're really showing up to hear? Because every group's different, And I like to address the people that are here. The message was, tell them that the ultimate transformational experience is the writing of a book in a weekend. And this year we did 14 retreats. We'll have done 14 retreats after our next 2. And not only do we get to see people write books, which is a really cool thing. Most of them write their books in a day and a half. But the coolest thing is you get to see unhappy people become happy people. Because one of the things that we discovered is this, and this is based on 31 years of teaching I've done, is the reason that people are able to eventually write books, whether they do it through our method or a more remedial approach, is the result that there's already a book stuck inside them that they need to get out. Stuck inside them. Again, the New York Times said 81% of Americans believe they had a book stuck inside of them that they needed to get out. So stuck inside them. If we look at that, what's that mean? That means that the book is already written, right? Because I got to tell you something. When people are at our retreats, they're not creating books. They're releasing what's already there. So it takes away, when you really think of it from that perspective, it takes away the concerns you have about being creative, about being worthy, about being talented. Man, you just got to be there. You understand what I'm saying? You just got to show up. Sit down, show up, sit down, shut up, and write. That's what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to. Now, stay with me on this point. So that book is a spiritual entity, let's say. It's bodiless. We're kind of limited by our bodies. We can only do so many things. So that book, when it comes in, it can only go so slow. The slowest it can go while maintaining its spiritual integrity is about 1,200 words per hour. The average student at one of our retreats writes 2,500 words per hour. When that book comes through, it maintains its spiritual integrity while it takes a human form. But it changes the human being who it comes through. Because being a spiritual entity, a raw, white light entity, when it comes through, it heals. It makes room for itself by clearing out all that stuff you no longer need. That's where the transformation comes. So I love to watch people write books. But you know something? The thing that keeps me coming back, the big thing that I like the most, is that I love to watch the transformations they go through. They heal, relationships heal, perspectives heal. They acknowledge who they really are. Their true message comes through. Their true voice comes through. You birth your voice, you birth your message, and your life changes as a result. Your life changes as a result. So a book isn't any good on its own without the backing of the human being that brings it through. How do you know if there's a book inside you? Let me just ask you a few questions. Raise your hands if you agree with this. How many of you have ever awakened in the middle of the night and needed to write? It's great to be in the company of people as crazy as I am. Thank you for that. You know why it comes through in the middle of the night? Why? Because your brain's off. That's the only time it can get through. If that's happening, it's the only time it can squeeze through into your life. If you're experiencing that, you have a book inside you. Now, my experience has taught me that we have choices to make when we're here. We made choices before we got here. You may have chosen to bring a message through in the tangible version of a book. Okay? You can choose not to do that. Will your life be complete? I think not. Because there's so much that transpires when you write a book using this method. Your voice, your message, your purpose. You know, there's so many kids in today's generations. So many adolescents have no idea what they're doing with their lives. They're just bumbling around. You know, until they have that purpose, until they have that message, until they have that direction, everything is pretty much a waste of time. It's the same thing with us. Same thing with us. How many of you have ever had a period of time, no matter how short or long, where you sat down to write and the words poured out of you so quickly you couldn't keep up with it? Where do you think that's coming from? You're not generating that. You're not creating that. You're releasing that. Do you understand? So that's just further evidence of this, that you already have books stuck inside you that need to get out. Our job is to help you get them out. All right, how many of you like to read? Why do you like to read? Because you're not writing. Even if you had paid for this class tonight, this little example I'm just about to give will save you thousands of dollars. When you start writing a book, you'll stop reading books. See, the reason you're reading them now so voraciously, because you're not plugging your own lamp in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're plugging your own lamp in, you don't need anybody else's light. One of the comments I get so often, and questions I get asked so often, oh, you're a writer, you must read a lot. No. I read my students' works, I read maybe 2 books a year. Because I'm just not enamored with anybody else's connection. I want my own. You know what I'm saying? So the reason we read so much is because we're trying to borrow someone else's connection that we haven't had the ability to form on our own yet. Has anyone ever got compliments on your writing? All right, so the outside world's talking to you too, right? How many of you look at bestseller lists? You know what you're looking for there? Yes. Your name. Yes. Your author within is saying, look over here, let's look at the USA Today and see what Publishers Weekly has there today, because maybe we'll finally be on the list. You have to have a book to have that. See, it's speaking to you. It's speaking to you. It's not going to go away. And I don't want you to be at that last breath of life looking down that white tunnel on the other end saying, God, I wish I would have. You see, every one of us is very important. Every one of your books is like a piece to a puzzle we call life. And if we had a jigsaw puzzle going here and there's 1,000 pieces to it and 6 pieces were missing, we looked at that jigsaw puzzle, we'd look at the 6 pieces that were missing, right? That's the first thing we'd notice. Don't want you to be one of those pieces. Rama, next slide, please. All right. When releasing the book that is already inside of you, that is so important, what transpires? The release of your voice. The release of your voice. The release of your message. I've got a terrible reputation for making women cry. I make men cry too. At our retreats, everybody cries. Some tears of joy, some tears of recognition, some tears of pain, some tears of regret. Because when they release their message, they remember who they are. So many of us have forgotten. And our messages have been right there, right at the tip of our tongue for so long. We forgot we had a voice. The healing transpires. Like my friend MJ was talking about, once you're in alignment with your purpose, your voice and message and everything else will fall into place. Personal relationships heal. I've become I'm not compassionate to when people come into my retreats and complain about their husband, their wife, their job, their family, their upbringing, because I realize that the person who's got the problem is them. But when their books come through, it's amazing how these professional and personal relationships heal. And I don't know if you've heard about this through some of the emails we've sent out, but professionally, you can do with your voice and with your message what it is you're called to do. I've been lucky to do that for 32 years. 32 years. I've been in alignment with my message, and God, I'd never trade any moment that I've ever had for that. Personal and professional relationships. You know, right now, we can literally take one of you that wants to write a book, help you get that book written in a weekend, and within a few months, it can be a bestseller. The technology is now there to do that. So you can pursue this professionally as well, too. Whether that professionally means you want to become a full-time author, or maybe you want to be a novelist. Maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you already have a pre-established business, and you want to bring greater recognition and name to who you are and what you do. Writing does that, because there's nothing in this world that's more recognized by the general public as being an authority than an author. You know, you can be tremendous at what you do, but until you have a book about it, no one seems to accept us. The book is the key. The book is the key. Rama, next slide. Go back one, I think. Now again, the reason we're here this evening is try to close the gap between your doubt and your desire. And I realize there's a lot I'm going to say tonight that's going to challenge those doubts. I'm going to try to hit those right over the head and encourage you to follow through on what it is you really want to do. Maxine Taylor of Atlanta, Georgia, came to a retreat in Atlanta we were having a year ago last weekend of September. She wrote her book in 2 days. By the first week of November, it was a #1 Amazon bestseller. #1 Amazon bestseller. Now, before we go into the next part of talking about what a bestseller is and what makes a good book, I think you need to understand how people can write books this quick. What's the average length of an American adult book in the United States at this time? Does anyone know? Approximately 34,000 words. You may want to write that down. This is all simple mathematics. The average speed, writing speed of an author at one of our retreats is 2,500 words per hour. How long does it take the average author to write a book? About 14 hours. We work 8 hours a day. When do they finish their books? On Saturday. Now, let's approach a few more of your doubts, shouldn't we? The doubts. Well, first doubt was no one writes a book that quick. Well, yes, they do. Even Jack Kerouac did a book in a day one time. Second doubt you may have is, if you write a book that fast, it's going to be crap, right? Books are not wine. Sure, if you produce a bottle of wine in 2 days, it's going to be grape juice. There's a difference between wine and other activities and books. Because the faster you write, the better you write. Why is that? The faster you write, the less time you have to do what? Think. Write this down. 98% of the mistakes you could make, 98% of the mistakes you could make as an author are directly attributed to inappropriate left brain intervention. So we write so fast that we don't have time to think. Stay with me. The book's already on the other side coming through. Got it? Already on the other side coming through. So if we don't have any left brain intervention, the book just downloads itself onto the paper or onto the screen. Does that make sense? We find that there is very little significant revision necessary on our authors who attend our retreats. You have a 78% chance. If you do a multiple choice test, there's 100 questions on there, and you go through as fast as you can, just write down mark off the answers you think are correct. But then you decide to go back through the test a lot slower. There is a 78% chance that you will change a right answer to a wrong answer when you start to think. Do you understand? So we write really fast because it ostracizes the left brain. Now there is room for the left brain revision, but not in the writing process. We write fast because we ostracize the left brain. We also write fast because that enables us to connect with the speed of the book, which is pure spirit. Does that make sense? That's why we do it so quick. Is it convenient to write a book in a weekend? Yes, absolutely. But that's not the reason we do it. We do it because it's the best way. Rama, next screen, please. All right. What is the most dominating component in today's bestsellers? What do people buy? Come on. Make a guess or two. Love stories. Yes. Well, what is the essence of a book? What does it have to have? What does it have to make the reader do? If it doesn't do this one thing, people won't read it. What? Feel. Okay. Your feelings come from your heart. Your heart supposedly is located in your right brain. When you ostracize the left brain, you go immediately into your heart. People buy books that make them feel something. They don't care about the information. If you have information in there besides the feeling, that's great, they'll take it. But they won't buy it based upon just the information. So your job is to make people feel. You see, in our society, especially now in today's world, life is so busy that people don't have the opportunity to feel. So they live vicariously through artists, actors, athletes, and authors. And all our job is to make them feel. The most famous athlete is usually the biggest jerk. So, the guy like Peyton Manning, who is extremely well known, a wonderful human being, he's probably not the most popular because he's such a good guy. It's the people that make us feel something that we tune into. Remember Howard Cosell? Remember Howard? I knew Howard very well because when I was in sports, I used to work with Howard. And the whole Monday night thing he did was an act. He'd knock down like 15 different vodkas, get in there and be the most obnoxious SOB you've ever seen in your life. And you know something? Americans tuned in every Monday night through the fall and winter to listen to Howard because they hated him. They hated him. They hated him. But it didn't matter to them if they loved him or hated him because the only thing that mattered to them is he made them feel something. Because when we feel something, we also feel what? We feel alive. That's what we want. And we're so busy and so concerned in our society with the changes we're going through that until we start to feel something, we don't remember that we're alive. And that's our job as authors. How do we make somebody feel something? This is easy. What do you have to do first? You have to feel something first. Mark Victor Hansen said, it's not the words that you use as an author that makes a difference. It's how you felt when you use the words that leaves a lasting impression on the page. That's writing from the heart. And the ability to make people feel. You all come pre-equipped with that, don't you? You all come with a heart, right? Now our job is just to know how to get to it, how to stay there, how to feel comfortable with the transitions that it'll bring long enough, a day and a half, 2 days, long enough for a book to manifest and for us to become the authors we want to be. I tried to read 50 Shades of Grey. I only got like 37 pages into it. The sex didn't kick in, so I wasn't interested at all. It was really boring. But, you can't laugh at that author's track record. She touched something in a lot of women. And a lot of women I've talked to said, I read the book, couldn't stand it, but I read the whole thing. Read the whole thing. Because it made them feel. That's what you need as an author. Now, how do we get there? We're going to go there tonight. That little CD I gave you, the little business card, you all have one? If you didn't get one on the way out. Okay? That CD will put you into the divine author within state, the heart, from where the book comes through. The book comes through your heart then. It'll also keep you there. It's made up of 3 tracks. Number 1, first track is an introduction by Rama of the technique. Track 2 is a relaxation technique by me to get you in that state. Third track is a subliminal to keep you there. You're all familiar with the concept of subliminal, right? Rhythmless music and recorded deep in the background are words by me saying things like, you like to write. You are writing. You're writing now. You're really good at this. Keep doing it. Now, there's just a few rules that we have to kin to that counterbalances any inappropriate left brain intervention. While in that state, write as fast as you can. Don't read it. Don't read anything. Reading is what comes from what part of our brains? Left brain. We don't want to go there, man. Okay, we can get frontal lobotomies and stuff, but then they take our licenses away. So easiest way is just to use this CD. So don't read while you write. Always write what you feel. If you write what you feel, that'll guarantee that you come from the heart at all times. I have a really good accountant, a really nice guy, but I limit my meetings with him to about 12 minutes because they're so left brain. I'm like, it feels so uncomfortable. How much do I owe? Where do I send it? Can I borrow a stamp? Always write what you feel. And understand that initially when you get in this state, if what is coming through initially is not the book, is not a book or the book, it's the book making room for itself by removing some biases against yourself that you may have. Does that make sense? There's no writing that's wasted. It's a very divine art form. A very divine art form. Rama, next slide. How many of you want to do this, get into the state tonight? I'd like to demonstrate to you how to get into this state. All right? Does everyone again have your lineless pieces of paper? You have it? Pull those out. I'm going to show you how to get into this state. It's very simple, very easy. You can replicate it on your own. And getting into this state, and John, in just a few minutes, I'll ask you to turn the music on. And getting into the state, what we really want to work with is our body. How many of you have ever had writer's block? Yeah? Okay, writer's block is basically a catatonic physical response to a spiritual inspiration. What happens is that inspiration, that is that book, starts coming through at such a rapid pace, the body says, oh no, I can't run this fast. Boom, shut down. So the body literally shuts down. So the body needs help Because the body is asked to take into it a significant amount of inspiration that moves at a very quick pace because it doesn't have a body. So we got to help the body get used to being in that state. Once you do that, you'll find out writer's block will be a thing of the past. So right now, sit up straight in your chairs. You don't have to look like a Marine. Just push yourself back till your spine is straight. Why is that important? The reason that's important is because if your spine is straight, you're going to be in alignment with the feelings that will come through with the inspiration. If your spine is twisted, you won't be. Arms and legs uncrossed. Make sure your arms and legs are uncrossed. Why? Because if your arms and legs are crossed, you're going to be curtailing the circulation of the blood through your system, and the body won't be able to run this race very well. Have you ever seen anyone at the Olympics, a sprinter or a long-distance runner, running with their arms crossed? They're a free flow, right? Well, we're going to be running an internal race. So we want to do the same thing. Arms and legs uncrossed. Eyes closed. Why would I ask you to close your eyes? Very simple. Because we are a visually dependent culture, and there's that CD, the one you have a copy of. Thank you, John. When you close your eyes, you have nowhere to go but inside. And that's where your divine author within waits for you. Inside. So I want you to close your eyes now. Ladies, you may want to keep a hand on your purse. Now we want to, while your eyes are closed, arms and legs are uncrossed, drop your chin to your chest. And keep it there. When your chin goes to your chest, disengages your left brain's connection with your consciousness. And I will be repeating this a few times over about dropping your chin to your chest, because some of you will start to go left brain and that chin will rise off your chest. But keep your eyes closed, chin to your chest. Focus on exhaling deeply. This is the next point in the body we need to address. Breathing. I want you all to take a nice deep breath in. Exhale deeply. Open your eyes just for a moment. Take your right hand. Take your right hand. Put it up. Put it on your diaphragm. Now watch me breathe. When I exhale, what happens? My shoulders round. My hand comes way into my gut. You see that? Because we need to exhale deeply. Because when we exhale deeply, we're expanding the intake capacity of our lungs to its maximum potential, enabling us to keep up with the speed of the inspiration. We were given the size of the lungs we have to support the needs of our body. Most of us don't breathe very well. That's because we don't exhale deeply. Let's do that again. Nice deep breath in. Watch your hand go in now. These little things are extremely important. One more time. Exhale. Now close your eyes again, chin to your chest. Keep your right hand on your diaphragm just as a reminder to exhale deeply. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. You can use a little sound with that. This is Sedona. Nobody's weird here. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. One more time. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. Keep your eyes closed, your chin to your chest. Hand on your diaphragm. Just keep it there just as a reminder. Allow your mind to clear. Just allow it to happen, folks. You're here for a reason. You're here for a reason because it's time to get in connection with that book, because it's time. You know, even if you've been wanting to write for 20, 30, 40 years, it doesn't mean it was time before now. Let go of the regret. Because you had a premonition that you were meant to write a book, doesn't mean you were meant to do it back then. It means you were meant to do it now. That's why you're here, and that's why I'm here. Keep the eyes closed, chin to the chest. Your eyes open up, you're going to be concentrating on things around you as opposed to what's happening inside of you, and that's where your book is located. Clear your mind. I'm going to ask you to see an image that comes into your mind. The image I want you to allow to come into your mind. Don't you create it. Allow it to come into your mind. This image is a depiction of the first time it was in your life when you recognized, for whatever reason, that writing was something that you wanted to do. That writing was something that you wanted to do. Allow yourself to go back to that time, who you were at that time, where you were at that time, what you were feeling at that time. Even allow yourself to hear the rustling of the trees, the lapping of a wave, a distant train in the background, the noise of a distant train in the background. Allow whatever was there and present at that moment to visit you now. Get back in touch with that part of yourself, which I refer to as the divine author within, and which is represented by you in this image. By you in this image. Allow yourself, if possible, to become that individual you see in your mind once again. I'm going to demonstrate for you, and keep your eyes closed, chin to your chest. In fact, let's take a nice deep breath in. Blow out any resistance you may be having. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. One more time. Blow it out. Eyes closed, chin to the chest. I'm going to show you something very significant right now. We all know, I want you to just keep your eyes closed, your chin to your chest, and just keep listening to what I have to say. And thank you for doing so. We all know that this divine author within can talk to us. Because he or she has been bugging us forever, hasn't it? It's talked to you in a lot of different ways. What I don't know if you realize or not is that you can talk to it. He or she will listen, and he or she will respond. It's from these sources from which books come. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. To demonstrate this, I'm going to ask you to ask this part of you a question. Silently. While, if possible, looking into your own eyes in this image as you do so. The question I want you to ask is this. Why have I been led to write? Why have I been led to write? Stay with it. Allow yourself to feel the response. Some of you will hear a response. Some of you will see a response. Some of you will feel something. Why have I been led to write? Just a moment, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do some writing. Until then, keep your eyes closed. I want to remind you that when you write in this class or any retreat or anything that I have, you will not be responsible for sharing anything that you write with anybody in the class, including me. So it's just between you and the paper. It's a very intimate relationship. Number two, when you begin to write, write as fast as you can. Allow the pen to lead the way. Don't read what you write, number three. Number four, always write what you feel. Nice deep breath in. Blow out any resistance you may be having. Nice deep breath in again. Blow out any resistance you may be having. Open up your eyes, pick up your pens, and allow yourself to write whatever it is you're feeling. Whatever it is you're feeling. Just keep the pen moving if it can. You may find there may be a momentary glitch or two in your flow. Just keep it moving, even if you just have to scribble for a little bit. Again, try not to read what you're writing. Just keep the pen moving. Doing great. Allow the book to lead the way this time. Allow your divine author within to lead the way. Again, do your best to resist the temptation to read. Okay, let me have your attention again for a minute, please. Please put a solid line across your piece of paper below the last line that you wrote. Good. Put your pens down. You're going to stay in this state for a little bit longer. Uncross your arms and legs. Make sure you're sitting up straight. Close your eyes. Chin to your chest. Let's go back to that place we were just in, that happy place. Now, anytime we do something productive, it dislodges a lot of things that we no longer need. So I want you to take that right hand and put it on your diaphragm again. You're going to take a few deep breaths. I want to make sure you exhale very deeply. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Ah. Ah. Really let that breath out. Let's do it again. Nice deep breath in. Ah. Another deep breath in. Ah. Thank you, Rama, for that. Keep your eyes closed, chin to your chest. Go back in contact with that image that's a representation, a true and accurate, yet symbolic representation of your author within. We're going to ask it another question. You're going to stay nice and calm and quiet to hear the response again, just like you did. This is what writing's all about, folks. This is how it works. Great writers are great listeners. We listen to this part of ourselves. We're bright enough to let it out. We don't need to know where we're going all the time. That's the fun of life, is to find out where we're going on the journey, not at the end. Here's the next question we want to ask. Where will my writing of a book take me, both on a professional and personal level? Where will the writing of my book take me, both on a professional and personal level? Allow yourself to feel the response. Stay with it. Maybe some of you will see things. Some of you hear things. You know, we need to know we're going somewhere. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Oh. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Open up your eyes. Pick up your pens. Write whatever it is you feel. Okay, I need to ask you a big question. Let me have your attention. It's kind of a big jump, but I'm going to pose this question to you, and I want to show of hands. Response, how many of you would like to see exactly what book's trying to come through? How many of you would like to see or be in touch with that book which brought you here? It's kind of a stretch, but I want to do that. So let's put our pens down. Close your eyes again. Arms and legs uncrossed, making sure you're sitting straight up, please. Close your eyes, bow your head. We need to go real deep now. Nice deep breath in. Really blow it out. Ah! Come on. Blow out any resistance. Nice deep breath in. Ah! Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Ah! Keep breathing. Keep your eyes closed. Gwen, come on up here, please. Gwen. Would you mind leading the group in a few breaths, please? Thank you.
So we're going to do a slightly different style of breathing along the same lines, but this time really let your mouth and jaw be open and relaxed. And when you breathe in, allow that opening to simply let the air flow in and embrace that air as it comes in. This is the gift of life, so allow yourself to feel that gift of life come into your body, really embracing it, opening to it. And as you breathe in, just allowing yourself to feel the sensual nature of the breath as it meets the body. And as soon as you reach the top of the inhale, go ahead and fully release it, following that exhale all the way out to the end. Just like Tom had you do, let yourself feel that exhale in your body as well. Let your shoulders drop. Let your spine round a little bit, and really make sure that you are exhaling completely all the way to the end of that breath. You can tighten your tummy muscles on the exhale and really release any stale energy, any stale air, any stale emotions. Know that on every single exhale, you can let go right now of anything that is no longer serving you. And just keep letting the breath flow one into the next. So feeling them like the waves on the ocean. That inhale is your inspiration, allowing that life force energy to flood into your body and into every cell of your body at this time. And as you exhale, letting go of anything that is keeping you from connecting to this book within. Allowing your voice to release as well on the exhale, just feeling the vibration of your voice coming from the diaphragm or your belly. Allowing your mouth to be open wide on the exhale so that you can really let it go. And keep letting those breaths flow one to the next. It's almost as if the breath starts to breathe you. And as you continue to let the breaths flow one into the next, keep that image in your mind and just let that image wash through you. Let that image start to float into every cell of your body. Let that image start to take you over. Keep letting the breaths do their work. Letting the diaphragm be the focal point of your breath. Feeling that inhale and that exhale just moving in and out through the diaphragm. Mouth is open, no control, No control in the lips, just letting the mouth be open, the breath flowing in and out.
Thank you, Gwen. And just stay there with your eyes closed. We're going to go back to that touchstone of an image that you've been embracing up to this point, one that's reflective of your divine author within. And in this image, I'd like you to be looking over your own shoulder. And as you do, something appears into the open hands, open palms of the image of yourself that you see in your mind. And as it does, as this thing appears, it immediately opens up not only into a book, but it opens to a specific page on that book. Now, what we've been doing is clearing away any of the concerns and worries and doubts, so the naturalness of this experience and this approach can visit you. Now look at those open pages. Allow yourself to drink it in like a fine wine. Allow yourself not just to see it, because some of you may not see it, but allow yourself to feel it. And maybe for the first time completely in your life, allow what you feel from this experience to bleed into every cell of your body. So you and what you see and what you feel become one. Maybe some of you will see a book cover, some of you will see a table of contents, some of you will see a page, some of you will see a blank page. If you see a blank page, that means the page is ready to be written on. And the feelings that you have in your heart are leading you in that direction. Nice deep breath in. Exhale it deeply. Through breath we can release anything. Nice deep breath in. Exhale deeply. Yeah. Nice deep breath in. This time exhale with a big smile on your face. That felt good. Let's do that again. Nice deep breath in. Exhale with a smile on your face. Yeah. Now we're talking. We're talking. Then open your eyes. Pick up your pens and write down whatever it is that you feel, see, or hear. Just write as fast as you can. Don't read it as it comes out. Write whatever it is you feel. Realizing we're returning to a natural state. We're not creating a state. We're returning to a natural state. Writing can be as natural as breathing or walking or winking. Remember, writing is not reading. Try not to read what you write. Just let the pen go. Reading's for later. Writing's for now. Okay, let's put our pens down just one last time. Do one more short little exercise. One more short little one. Arms and legs uncrossed, spine straight, eyes closed, chin to your chest. Turn to that touchstone of an image in your mind. You want to ask one question. One last question. Nice deep breath in before we do so. Nice deep breath in. Nice deep breath in. One more question of that image. Please keep your eyes closed. Where you'll stay in connection with that image. Question we want to ask is this. Why would now not be the time to write my book? Why would now not be the time to write my book? Eyes closed. Why would now not be the time to write my book? Feel the response. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. This might be taking away your excuses. You may not feel comfortable with that. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Nice deep breath in. Blow it out. And one last time, open up your eyes, pick up your pen. Write whatever it is you feel. Just for a few more minutes. Why would now not be the time to write my book? Okay, let me have your attention again, please. John, could you bring a stop to the music, please? Thank you for your cooperation. We wrote 40 minutes. Several things I wanted to share with you, and I hope you can hang with me before we take a break for a few minutes, because it's very important we recollect a few things we've covered. Number one, I wanted to show you that you could self-induce your own divine author within connected state. I wanted to show you that it could be a communication, a two-way communication, not just a one-way. So that literally you can ask questions and get responses. It's not always just downloading orders to you. I also want to show you what plan this certain part of your soul may have for you. Where is your writing meant to take you? Because sometimes it's a lot easier to go someplace when we have an idea where we're going. I also want to give you the opportunity, and this was a little bit of a stretch tonight, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an opportunity to get an idea, at least an initial idea or impulse, connection with the book you're meant to write. See, because one of the things that we notice in our retreats, and we've been noticing for over 30 years, is that anyone who comes into a retreat always ends up writing something different than they thought they would write. Now, sometimes it's just a little bit, sometimes they got the key in the lock and they need to twist it a little bit so it turns the tumblers. Sometimes they need a whole new key. So they always end up writing something slightly different. And once we start to feel what it is and see what it is that we were meant to do and know that it's there, it's a lot easier to go there. Now that book's a big thing though. It's like one of those old Cadillacs, the real big ones with the wings on them. You need a big garage to get that sucker in there. And you need to get that door all the way up. There's a little bit of work that goes into preparing for a retreat to get that door all the way up, to get that Cadillac in or out. I don't know if we could accomplish tonight. Some of you we may have. Some of you may have just got a glimpse. But I wanted to give you that opportunity. Now, Rama, can you move this to part 9, please? So turn to part 9, which is page 11, please. Great writers of the past, classic writers, most of whom were world changers, had derelictic lifestyles. I know when I was in 8th grade, when we finally started to study writing and composition, I wanted to study the great writers until I studied a few of their lifestyles, learned about a few of their lifestyles. I started to equate being a successful author with being a derelict. Not only did they all die of some type of sexually transmitted diseases, but they invented new versions of it. Oftentimes they didn't achieve greatness until they were dead, and they didn't care that they were great. They made a lot of money post-mortem. The reason why there's so much dereliction associated with writing is because up until recently, up until the mid-'80s, we felt we had to be visited by a muse, an outside source that graced us with its presence if and when it wanted to. We never knew when it was going to show up, if it was going to show up. And so we had anxiety. People would have anxiety. At the time of the great writers, they would drink, they would take drugs if they had the money to afford them, to self-medicate. Well, since the time of Roger Sperry and the right-left brain theory, and Roger Sperry won a Nobel Prize in medicine in 1984 for his theory on right-left brain techniques, we did not know how to get to that author within. Now, because of Sperry and his work, we know how to tap into that author within. And so you can tap into that author within anytime you want. It's one of the things we do with retreats. We tap into it, we stay in there, we go home, we come back, we tap into it, we stay in there. And when you stay there, amazing things happen. On page 11, here's some of the things that you can expect to happen. You're going to write really fast. You want to know how fast you write now, without any practice, without any training? Do you want to know? Is that a nod of the head? I don't know, I'm going to write right side. I don't really care. You talk, I'll listen. Okay, go back to that first bit of writing you did. Turn back the pages to that first bit of writing you did. The one where I asked you to draw the solid line across the piece of paper. Everything that you wrote before that solid line, I want you to turn back to. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. Pick out an average-looking line from that piece of your writing. Average-looking line, not sentence, average-looking line. Count the number of words in that average-looking line and write that number down. Write that number down. Now count the number of lines that you wrote up until where you drew that hard line across the piece of paper. Count the number of lines you wrote. And write that number down. Here's where it gets tough. Apologize for this in advance. Some of you may not remember how to do this, but hopefully you'll recover some bit of knowledge. Multiply these two numbers. Number of lines multiplied by the number of words in an average looking line. Multiply those two numbers. Pull out your cell phones, whatever you need to do. Everybody got it? Okay, now multiply that total by 10. Stick a 0 on the end. That was the first bit of writing we did, was a 6-minute writing drill. I did it as a 6-minute writing drill to exhibit for you what your current writing speed is. You see, that without any training, without any preparation, with just a little bit of help and a bit of naturalness, you see what your writing speed is? Now, if you can, in your mind, take that writing speed and divide it into 34,000, you'll see how many hours it would take you to write a book. Again, remember, the faster we write, the better we write. We're not looking at a lifetime commitment here, folks. Give me a weekend. We're not looking at a lifetime commitment. We're looking at a lifestyle change. We're looking at a lifetime enhancement. We're looking at a huge transformational growth forward, but we're not looking to take years to do it. And the shorter period of time you do it, the faster you do it, the better your result is going to be. This is the opposite of producing wine. So you write fast. What were some of your times? How many words did you write? 264? 1680. Sir, what did you do? Yes? 235? 2035? Stick a 0 on the end there. 2,335. 2960, David? 1980. 3,000. 2,800. See, we're really good at what we do, but we can only be good because you're already prepared. You showed up, you're desperate. You're willing to listen to some of our quacky theories, right? Proven, but yet totally different theories. And this is already a natural process for when we remove the intellect. You see, writing is a holistic art form. This is the problem. That's a solution. The problem is that we don't treat it holistically. Educationally, as hard as our educational system works, and I don't think there's anyone more underpaid than a teacher, they teach us that writing is an intellectual art form, which it is, but it's also an emotional, physical, and spiritual art form. But if you only treat it as an intellectual art form, it's like driving a car with only one inflated tire and you got 3 flats. Most of us will just get out of the car and leave it by the side of the road. Some of us will be crazy enough to continue to drive it. Very rarely does that happen. But you see what happens when we take writing from the holistic perspective of the 4 aspects it is. That's all we did tonight. That's all we did. And you see the results you got already? With a little bit of practice, a little bit of training. Did you see the book I had out here called Right to Heal? It's the smallest, most powerful book in the world. It's the best book I ever wrote, and it's probably 3,000 words in length. But it's designed to get to the core of whatever is holding you back from being able to write. And whatever is holding you back from writing is also holding you back from living. The preparation we have for a retreat is read Right to Heal, listen to that CD, and you're ready to rock and roll. Because we remove the psychological barriers. This is the slowest writing speed you will ever have if you continue on the path that I'm suggesting. Your writing speed will go up greatly. The writing will lead the way. Did you notice that tonight? Did you notice that? Did you feel like you're on the passenger seat there? The divine author knows better than you. This is how it is. My accountant knows better than I do too. I walk in, how much they owe, where do I send it? You know? Did you notice, did it feel like a short period of time tonight that we wrote? Maybe 10 or 15 minutes? We wrote almost 45 minutes. Did any of you experience not knowing where you were going when you were writing? Like you only knew what was appearing on the paper, you didn't know where the next word was going to be? That's normal. That's normal. I'm telling you what's going to transpire for you when you write your first book using this method, so when it happens, you don't think it to be odd. Did you feel blissful? Yeah. Those are all common categories of what transpires and symptoms of what transpires when we write. Rama, go to part 10, please. Thank you. Now, one of the beauties of our retreat is you don't have to devote your whole life to doing it. You can get it done and get it out. Get it done. You can go from where you are now to being an author in a few days. But there are some very important things that need to transpire. You need to sequester yourself away. The very first quick book writing retreat we ever had was in this room. I felt I could have taught this retreat to write a book in a weekend 30 some years ago when I started teaching, but our culture wasn't ready for it. I mean, back then, until a few years ago, people would think, oh my God, the guy's crazy. He told me I can write a book in a year. They thought that was a short period of time. Well, about 5 years ago, I got an inspiration that you need to get people at retreats and just get their books written. Don't tell them to do it how to do it at home because they're not doing that well with it. Set the tone for it. So I thought, I sat down and I wrote out an outline, I played with it. If everything went wrong at this retreat, I still felt that we could get a book out of people, anybody, in 8 days. So we started the retreat, how to write a book or write your book in 8-day retreat. First one was in this room. It was great. Problem we had, everyone finished in 2.5 to 3 days. So me, being the workaholic, I'm like, yeah, this is great. We can write like 2 or 3 more. Like, you don't understand, man. This is what I always wanted to do. I did it. I'm going to party for the next 5 days. So, I'm in here with a bunch of hungover people for 5 days. It was kind of boring. So I thought, okay, we'll make it a 5-day retreat. 5 days, because I like to have that little buffer in case something goes wrong. Ran into the same problem. People coming in from out of town, they're paying for 5 days hotel stay, child care, all this other stuff. And they're writing the books in 2.5, 3 days. So finally, I took the big leap 2 years ago and said, we're just going to do this thing in a weekend. And it's worked out perfectly. It's cost effective for people. You don't have to take that much time away. The retreat is designed for 2 people, 2 types of people. The first type of person, which is the majority of people we get on the retreats, are those that want to come in and how many of you have been wanting to write a book for a while? Whatever a while is. And you come in, you just want to get it done. It's designed for those people. 98% of the people we have are people who come in to say, guy seems crazy, he lives in Sudan, but what the hell? Nothing else has worked. So they show up, they write a book in no time at all. The other 2% are repeat people we have. We have 2% of our people come back and repeat, and they say, man, I want to be a writer, but I got another life, but I can devote 2 weekends a year. So they come back and write their books. But sequestering away is very important. And sequester yourself away with direction. See, we set the tone. We set the environment. We actually have people that write books with our retreats that don't attend the retreats, but they're part of our plan remotely. And Rama brought this idea up a few years ago, and I thought it was a little crazy, but I thought I'd try it because I just wanted to appease him and get him off my butt. So, okay, we'll try this remote thing. Because his theory was, if people are really connected spiritually to the retreat, they don't necessarily have to be there. And I thought, yeah, I believe that, but I want to believe that, but I don't really believe it. But actually, it worked great. We had a retreat this last year. We had a student from Australia. The retreat started at 9 o'clock her time at night. And she wrote until 9 o'clock the next morning for 3 days. Finished a book and a half. So, but the sequestering and tapping into the energy, and this is another thing that used to concern me. I thought I could give a lecture and walk away, and I'd give you all the answers, and you'd have them, and you'd apply them, and it'd work, and I did my job, and we all felt good. It doesn't work that way. The reason I expanded the retreats was because people weren't able to do it at home alone. And they needed that guidance, and I think I carry some type of special energy with me that brings out that author within. I understand you because I feel the author within you coming through me too. I think it's all the same author, to be truth. But sequestering away when you have nothing to worry about but the transition your life is taking you through the writing of your book. And to be with, and this is another important factor that came through in the retreats, which I did not nurture, to be with your literary soul family. I do nothing at the retreats to encourage social interaction. Nothing, because I don't have to. You know, occasionally I'd have somebody say before retreat, isn't there going to be an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves? I'm like, no. Why? Because I don't want to do it. But don't you think it'd be good? Nah, you'll get to know each other. You know, it's like going through hell together. You'll all know each other within an hour, and you'll appreciate it. You know, I don't know your name, but I feel really one with you. So what I found out from the retreats is, like, every retreat's like a quilt. And everybody is their own little patch. And they come and the retreats come together. We don't do anything to bring them together. They come together on their own. And these people find themselves and remain lifelong friends. Because they find a part of themselves in each other that no one's ever seen before. And it's a beautiful experience. And again, we don't do anything to encourage that. It just happens on its own. Proper preparation, this is something we go over extensively. Make sure your responsibilities are taken care of. I mean, if you're going to take a few days, even if you live in Sedona, and you come to a retreat in Sedona, my recommendation would be don't go home in Sedona. You know, we hold our retreats at Sedona Rouge. They cater to us. We take over the place. I mean, even if you live in Sedona, spend a few $100 and just totally get into the retreat experience. Where every time you go into the bar or the restaurant, there's people you know there. You get a chance to really connect. I know when I teach a retreat at the Sedona Rouge, I don't go home. I don't go home on a Great Dane, my Chihuahua, my Chow Mix, my 4 cats, nothing. Because I just want to submerge myself in that transitional experience. Tell everyone you have to tell. When you're going to take a retreat, tell everyone you need to tell that you're going to take it. To kind of pin yourself in a corner to actually do it well, but to make sure that they don't interrupt the experience. Man, food and water is really important. We already know that, right? When you're writing a book, 3 times as much food, 3 times as much water is as important. You're going through an internal combustion exercise. Have you ever seen 2 chess masters face off on stage? Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky. They would sit there like statues, but they'd be sweating profusely because there's nothing really happening outside them, but all happening inside. And with writers, it happens inside. Because when that inspirational energy comes through, it burns through you. And it puts your body through a lot of paces. So literally what we do every 15 minutes, Rama will announce, okay, everybody stop for a second, take a drink of water, put something in your mouth, because your blood sugar will get thrown off really quickly if you don't keep up, if you don't let your body keep up with the experience. Proper prep for downtime. When I started teaching this retreat, I had one decision to make, one major decision. Should I sequester these poor individuals away with me and not let them go home, or should I let them have the evenings off? I kind of felt that it would be cruel and indecent to both parties if we got a retreat center and all we saw each other for 3 days straight. I think you should have time to get away and celebrate. So what we do after we're done writing, we encourage you to go out and do whatever you want. Most times you don't have a lot of energy to do a lot of anything anyway, but go out and have that extra drink, watch some extra funny TV, whatever you need to do, but recharge your batteries. Recharge your batteries. Because it's important to be able to come back fresh the next day. When you're at a retreat, we time your writing speed every 15 minutes. It's like taking your pulse. And you'll see at the retreats, the only thing I really care about for the first day and a half is your writing speed. Because the writing speed, if your writing speed is 400 words an hour, 400 words every 15 minutes and above, you're in that connected state. If it's below that, you're not. And if you're in that connected state, I don't have to worry anything about anything because the divine's taking care of it. If you're below that, I got to get you up there so the divine can take care of it. So I get called all types of word names by the people at the retreats, but every 15 minutes we ask you to take your writing speed. Check your writing speed. That's my way of not only seeing whether you're staying connected and whether you need our assistance, But it also shows me where you are in the process. Because as you write, your writing will go up and down for a while. And then it'll start to flatline out at a certain speed. And that's when I come around and I say, hey, how you're feeling right now, kind of get used to it. Because this is when you're on your zone. And if you get used to what your zone feels like, it'll be a lot easier to find next time you lose it. Okay? Now, we play the CD that you were listening to the entire time because it keeps you in that state, and right to heal is the key to preparing for these retreats. Rama? Okay, a few things. Again, I'm telling you what's going to happen in advance to you. So when you go through this, you will not think this to be odd. You're going to have some ups and downs in writing speed until it flatlines. And it takes about 4 or 5 hours before it begins to remain a little bit more consistent. The book will literally write itself. You will end up writing something at least slightly different than you anticipated. That's just how it is. I'm going to be honest with you. If you were in perfect alignment with your book right now, you would not be here. You'd be home writing it because you couldn't stop it. There's something a little bit out of whack, sometimes a lot out of whack. But once you're in alignment with it, it'll change from what you decided it was going to be intellectually. And the book will end on its own. No one believes me when I tell them this, and I tell them this at retreats over and over and over and over again. Your book's going to end on its own. How do I know it's over? Because it'll stop. How do I know when to stop? You don't have to know when. It'll do it on its own. That sounds crazy. What am I going to write the ending about? You won't know until you're done. How many of you have ever gotten a book and started to read it and you couldn't put it down? Okay. Now, how many of you who just raised your hand remember a time that you couldn't put a book down, couldn't wait to get to the end of the book, and then the end of the book was a real letdown? Doesn't that irritate the crap out of you? I just stayed up 2 nights reading this book. The ending sucked. Why did the ending suck? Because the author was in the flow, or the divine author within, all the way up till the end. And at the end, the left brain said, oh my God, we better create a great ending, because if we don't, no one will like it. Well, when you create something, from the left brain, it's never great. It's safe. It's boring, sometimes necessary, but it's never great. So the author let the left brain write the ending. Now what happens? When I watch your writing speed, I'm watching your writing speed, I'll watch it start to peak. And I'll intuitively sense when you're getting close to your ending. Plus, I'll be able to verify that by a certain peak I see in your writing speed that stays peaked. And I'll come around and I'll say, your book's going to finish pretty soon, probably in about 20 minutes. No one ever believes me. A lot of the comments I get back, I take a lot of crap for the things I do, for the right information I convey. Oftentimes I'll hear, oh, you're crazy. I'm 3 days away from finishing this damn thing. Okay, I walk away. Thank God the person wasn't violent. And within 10 minutes, the person will stand up and say, my God, my book just ended. How'd you know? Because I'm a lot brighter than you are. Because all the signs were there. You see, but your writing speed peaks at the end to outdistance the left brain is going to try to capture that ending. And so there's even less conscious recognition of what's actually transpiring. There's even less conscious recognition. This is what happens. I mean, there are universal elements to this procedure. And this is not really, it's called the Tom Bird method, but it's only called because I use it. When I asked how to write a book, this is what I got. And I could see in that image of that dream I was telling you about, how everything I had experienced in my life had led me up to that understanding, that point that was going to be made that night. I studied the right-left brain theory back in the mid-'70s before it was the right-left brain theory. I could see now why. I've got a degree in psychology. I can see why I got it so I could understand the writing process, because the degree in psychology did more for me to understand the writing process than my degree in writing. Because it's all about inside stuff. Rama, next one, please. All right. We're going to turn to a Q&A. We're a little ahead of schedule tonight. But there's a few things I wanted to go over with you before that. Let's see. In your packets, want to make sure you have all the right information. Then I'll answer any questions you have. You see the 17 principles of writing? You see that? It's a separate piece of paper you should have received. If you didn't, you can pick it up on your way out. The 17 principles of writing. See it? When you get home, take the opportunity to read over this. If anything goes wrong with your writing at any time, you can read over these 17 principles and find out which one innocently you're not adhering to and make the proper adjustments to get back online. There's also a sheet in there entitled 12 Steps of Publishing. See that? Thinking of giving a free presentation the first week of December on how to make your book a #1 Amazon bestseller, where I talk about publishing. Publishing is way different from what you know it to be. When I started in 1983, there was a specific industry that existed, specific regiments, specific steps you were supposed to take. That's dead. That's gone. As of 2008, publishing has completely changed. And it's much better for us than it's ever been. I never thought I'd see these days, these glory days for authors that I see now. And I think I'm looking at around the 10th of December, I'm going to hold another free class here on publishing. If you haven't had the opportunity on the way out, make sure that you let us know if you want to be invited to that, because we'll make sure you're invited. We can hold about 60 people in this room is about it. So we have 90 people on remote, but if you want to attend in person, which most of you probably do, let us know on the way out, or drop us an email before tomorrow, please. Okay, you also see a registration form if you ever want to take to one of our retreats. Hope that you would. Again, what we were trying to do for tonight was create for you a bridge between your doubt and your desires. I think you're here because you want to write a book in a weekend, but you doubt that you can. I mean, you got to admit, it's a lofty claim, and if I didn't see it happen hundreds of times a year, I probably wouldn't believe it either. Or if I had done it dozens of times myself, I probably wouldn't believe it either. So what we were trying to help you do is bridge the gap between your doubts and your desires. We'll have 3 retreats in Sedona next year. We have another retreat coming up in Sedona in about 2 weeks. You can attend the retreats remotely. We will do anything we can to try to help you get into the retreats. We have payment programs. We give discounts. Tonight we're going to give away some half-price spaces. Whatever we can do, we try to do. This is our ministry, but yet we have to support our business and our families at the same time too. Okay? But this is what we feel we're meant to do. You know, I know personally this is kind of a daunting responsibility for me, but for every person that comes to a retreat and writes a book, they affect tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people through the experience that not only they've gone through personally, but what they've done with their books. You know, we get 20 people at a retreat. That weekend, we may have affected 200,000 lives over the next year. It's amazing. And, you know, we all want to change the world, right? We want to make it a better place. And I guess the way I've been asked to do it is help people write their books. Let their hearts come through. Because for every person that comes through a retreat and opens their heart, they open the hearts of maybe tens of thousands of others. And we've had several bestsellers. We had one lady by the name of Jan Larkey who wrote a book called Flatter Your Figure. And it was about, you get all these dieting books for women about getting the Barbie doll shape and all this stuff. She had a different philosophy, man. Accept yourself who you are, dress to your size, problem solved, right? You're a size 14, you got a big bone structure, you're not going to be a size 2, sweetheart, so it's not going to happen unless you start cutting things off. So she just wrote one just called Flatter Your Figure, man. Decide what size you are, dress to it. If you're short, dress tall. If you're tall, dress short, whatever. Sold 850,000 copies. And all the only thing she needed, she didn't need direction. She didn't need a kick in the butt. The only thing she needed was a sage voice that helped bring out the heart in her. So she finally wrote through her heart and not through her head. And she connected with all those ladies out there that now dress to their figures. Make sense? That's really all you're looking at too. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, you don't lack talent. How many of you think you've been procrastinating with your book? You're not, man. Procrastination's good. I'm probably the first person that's ever told you that with your writing you should procrastinate. Well, you should procrastinate because up until this time you probably didn't know how to do it. Right? So there's a part a little smarter in you says, well, I think you should procrastinate until, number one, it's time for this book to be released. And you should procrastinate, number two, until you know how to do it. So that you're not a procrastinator. You're just smart. You're just smart. But now is the time. Now's the time. You can go from sitting in this room to where you want to be in no time at all. We'd love to have you at retreats. We offer deals at every chance we get. We offer returning author discounts, everything we can get. And you can sign up tonight if you want. Okay? And the application's here. Okay, now let's go to your questions. Do you have any questions? Sir, Con.
I have a comment and a question.
Oh, so the people on the across the globe can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Now you're heard in like 30.
So I have a comment
Yes,
and a question. My comment is that the coyote on your recording is giving a call that coyotes give when they have lost members of their social group.
Wow.
And so maybe the symbolism here is that
Wow.
the coyote is telling you that you're bringing in lost people into a social group where they can find themselves as authors.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Con. Thank you.
And my question is, I write on scientific subjects, and by necessity, part of it involves a lot of left brain interpretation.
Yes.
How do I handle that?
That's a great question. How many of you feel that you're plagued with the dilemma of research? Okay, and here's what we do. Now, we assume, and this is what I've seen in these retreats and work with new authors for 30 years, that there is a book stuck inside them. So we let the book out. We let the book out. Now that book may have some holes in it. It may look like Swiss cheese, okay? And so when you're writing, if you don't know a name or a date or a place or a theory or how to describe something, leave a blank space. And then we come back and fill it later. So we do what is referred to as post-writing research. We research that only which we need to know to complete the book. Now let me give an extreme example of this comment when I did this one time. I was speaking before a group of POWs, former POWs from World War II, one time at a veterans hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I see myself as being a well-rounded World War II historian. So as I'm up there speaking to these 250 men and women, it's going through my mind, I never heard their stories. I never knew that they existed. So I realized at that point I was meant to write a book that would capture stories before their generations passed. So I sat down to write the book, okay? No information at all, Con. I wrote the book in about 3.5 hours. Now, how much of the book was actually done? About 20%. But I could see the image of the book, and it came out as a very distinctive outline, introductions of certain chapters, and then the chapters would be filled out by interviews with the people, live interviews with the men and women that would fill out the rest of the book. So I wrote about 20% of the book, and my research then was to find 12 individuals that fit the categories of those 12 chapters I would write. Okay? So instead of interviewing 220 people that don't want to talk about their experiences and making them suffer through that and then trying to figure out what I had, I figured out what I had and then went in search of supplemental material. So what I would suggest to you, even with the scientific material, let the book come out, write it, and then find out what you don't know. Now let me give you one more example of that, because I know that's a common dilemma most of us face, is I have to do years of research to be able to write a book. I was in contact with, I teach at the University of Tennessee. I've taught at 110 different colleges and universities, and I teach at the University of Tennessee about once a year. And I was contacted by a professor from the nursing department one time after I'd lectured there, and she said, I've written a book on the spiritual aspects and perspective of nursing, how to nurse not only the body but the spirit. And she goes, I'd like you to read the book and review it for me. I'll pay you for it and tell me what you think of it. So I did. I read the book. We had a prearranged time where we were supposed to speak. And when she called me on the phone, I asked her a question. I said, how honest do you want me to be in my evaluation of your book? She goes, completely. I said, are you sure? She goes, completely honest. I said, it's a terrible book. It's atrocious. But that's the bad news. Good news is I found 5 sentences that actually work. She goes, what do you mean you find 5 sentences? I mean, sentences that I actually read that actually spoke to me. The rest was just intellectual bull. She says, what should I do? I said, well, we take those 5 sentences, we water the hell out of them, and we grow them into a big, beautiful lawn, and we'll call that our book. So she was highly intellectual. So it took me 2.5 months to break her down on her dollar. Finally, we rewrote the book over the phone in about 5 days. She sent it out to 4 academic publishers, 3 of which responded in 2 weeks with basically the same reply, an offer of publication with a letter that said, we've been looking for a book like this forever, and people keep sending us these stupid, headstrong books that don't speak to the spirit of the nurse. So you got to get the heart out first, then supplement with head, not vice versa. Does that make sense, Cam? Okay. Another question?
Thank you. First, I just want to thank you for sharing your time with us. It's been lovely.
It's my pleasure.
It's kind of a 2-part question.
Sure.
At what point do you read or edit your book?
When you're done writing it.
Okay.
So, and if we had more time tonight, I'd talk to you about revision, but the key is to write your whole book without reading it. And literally you write it so fast that you know that you wrote a novel, for example, but you don't really know what it's about. Yeah. Okay, seriously. One of the common comments we get from people who have finished their books at a retreat is, wow, I really enjoyed it. I kind of wish I knew what it was about. Because consciously you write so fast that your conscious mind can't keep up with it. So you don't read it until you finish writing it. And then the actual first step of revision is to begin work on your next book. The reason for that is we need some type of touchstone to draw from so we can be in that same creative space that we were in when we wrote the book when we revise it. Because if we're not in that same space, we'll be overly critical. Okay? So when we do let people go back and read their books, and normally when a person finishes their book at a retreat, we announce it and everybody's happy, envious and happy. And we make the person work on their next book for 1.5 hours to 2 hours to kind of establish a new trend. Okay? Then we take them back to the revision and they let them read back through the book and note any major changes that they want to make to the book. Just note the major changes. And the common comments we get is, wow, this is really good. I can't believe I wrote it. And I got to tell you, I would say that they remembered less than 15% of what they wrote. But that's our job, is to write it so fast that your left brain can't keep up with it. So that's when you do it.
And the second part of that question is, do you ever let other people edit your book?
Eventually.
Eventually.
There's a 5-step revision process that we take our authors through. And there's certain things that the authors are completely responsible for that no one else can do for them. But after they've gone through those 5 steps, they've done everything they, as the author, can do, then it needs to go into professional hands. So we have style editors we send it through, we have copy editors, we have formatters, we have book publicity people, and literally we can move somebody from a retreat, out of a retreat, after the book is revised, we can move them through and have their book published professionally, looking as good as any book has ever been published professionally edited and distributed internationally within months. Okay. Other questions? Any of these ladies up here? Yeah. You look a lot better than Rama. No offense, Rama.
We wrote by hand. What about writing on the computer?
You know, I highly recommend writing on computers. The only reason we wrote by hand tonight was because it was easier for me to track, and we didn't have to have a zillion power strips down. Now, writing in longhand will establish a greater soul depth, and so at a retreat, we start out writing in longhand to establish a greater soul depth, but then after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll say it's okay to transfer to keyboards if you want, because you're going to be writing 8-9 hours a day, so sometimes the keyboard's a lot easier, and it is faster. I would guesstimate that 65% of the people at our retreats write on the keyboard, 35% write in longhand. But as long as you, the key is, as long as you establish the depth and as long as you maintain the speed, that's all you need. And Gwen is there at all the retreats to help us establish a great depth every morning through breath work. We bring her in 2 or 3 more times during the day too. So the keyboards works just fine. However, I'd recommend on keyboards, you're going to get, once you start writing books, you're going to get really picky about things like pens and paper and keyboards. If you're going to use a external keyboard, I'd recommend an ergonomic one. If you're going to use an iPad, I recommend a Zag. It's the best keyboard I've ever had. A Zag. It's called Z-A-G-G. I write all my books now on my iPad. I have an iMac which I visit, 45 minutes a week, Rama? And I haven't carried a laptop in almost 3 years. The iPad is all I work from right now. Next question? Yes, sir.
On that same theme, how about voice-to-text translation?
The problem with that, Kristen, right? Your name's Kristen? The problem with that is it's too slow, especially for the first book. So if you're going into dictation, your voice moves a lot slower here than it does on the pen or the keyboard. And as a result, it comes out as a left-brained bit of a book. Now, after you've written 3 or 4 books, you can train your right brain to be in the same state as your writing speed, but until then, it doesn't really work very well, so I wouldn't recommend it. In fact, Dragon Naturally Speaking, you're all familiar with that? You know, that's a great idea, but the problem is, initially, for the first 2 or 3 books, it's too slow for us. And again, I know this is sounding repetitive, but speed, I got to tell you something. Speed is the only thing that matters initially. It's the only thing. And everything from diet to environment to proper breath work and stimulation, the CD, proper preparation, that all feeds into the speed. And the speed is the only thing that matters because the faster you write, the easier it is to connect to the book. Thank you for that question. Next question? Yes, yes, sir.
Forgive my naivety on this, but the first exercise that we did tonight, you talked a little bit about remembering the first time we thought that we wanted to write or that experience. And then when you said, okay, now write what you feel. I didn't know if we were supposed to write what we felt about that experience or what we feel right now.
Didn't matter. Didn't matter. Yeah, with these writing experiences, the first one I use pretty typically, okay? The other ones I kind of make up as I go along. I think one of my strongest attributes is that I don't care. I'm apathetic. When I teach them, like, I don't care what I need to do. I just want to be able to do what you need done. So when you relax, I relax. And so I see visions that come in my mind, and those are the visions I ask you to see in your mind because I believe they're already there anyway. They're just catalysts. If you write directly in response to one of them, that's great. If you write something different, that's great. Key is just write whatever it is you feel. Okay? And you're going to notice that part of your writing experience with your book, to get to your book, is going to be writing what you feel to get some stuff out. That's why I suggest the Write to Heal book, is that's a constructive, direct way to get all that stuff out, as opposed to letting it come out in bits and pieces. Thank you, sir. Other questions? Yes?
Yeah, 2 questions. What software do you use on your iPad when you're writing?
Pages.
And Pages? Okay.
Yeah.
And if I was to bring a book written on my iPad in Pages, could you help me get it into an ebook? Because I don't know exactly.
Oh, yeah. Rama's the man you want to talk to about that.
All right, great.
Yeah, but Rama is an endless stream of information about the ever-changing world of publishing, and he'll tell you all about that.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. Other questions?
A couple of things. First, I was writing and I cramped up so much in my arm because I'm trying to go fast. Does that happen to a lot of people, or?
Everyone has a symptom or two that they have to overcome. We've had some people come into retreats with supposedly disabling situations. We had one lady come into a retreat. Before the retreat, she called me about 3 weeks and said, before the retreat, and said, I need to tell you that I have a really bad right shoulder. I got in a car accident a few years ago. I really, I have tingling in my fingers. I can't lift my elbow up very high. And I'm wondering if that'll influence my writing ability at the retreat. You know, if I was a little bit more logically minded and wasn't living in Sedona, I would have said, of course it would. But when I was talking to her, I heard my inner voice say, just tell her to get to the retreat. We'll make it work. I said, no, you'll be fine. So she was outwardly nervous about coming to the retreat, no matter what good advice I gave her. She came to the retreat, and she struggled for about 20 minutes. And then I think she was faced with the fact that she would really let herself down if she walked out that door. And she didn't want to walk out and the other 30 or 40 people that were there, which is one of the great influences of group energy. And so she stuck with it, and her arm freed itself of all the pain, all the stress, and she ended up writing 5 different books over 2 years. So I'm saying what you're experiencing is normal. Try to go into it, not react to it. Respond to it. You got an ache in your elbow, for example. Instead of reacting to it, say, damn it, I'm going to write anyway. Say, what's the problem? What am I feeling? What do I need to let out? And so go into it as opposed to run away from it.
And then the second thing was, I haven't read what I wrote, but I was thinking, as I'm writing, I don't know if I was writing like stream of consciousness writing instead of like writing a novel. So is that where the
All
revision?
great writing is stream of consciousness. Now we have
I don't know if I did any sentences.
It doesn't matter.
And
Doesn't
all of
matter.
that. Is that
we
where
can
the
fix
revision
that.
comes?
But let me first build on the point. All great writing is stream of consciousness, okay? The left brain expresses in very shallow, very abrupt spurts. When you get into the right brain, the divine author within state, it's like a river, a stream of consciousness. So if you notice when you ask yourself questions, or when you ask me questions, watch the words you use. You said, so I think, where's that question coming from? The left brain. Mm-hmm. So the left brain's always going to be overly critical about, well, I don't even know what the hell you wrote, so it must suck. Well, it's good. We could turn back and say, you don't know what we wrote because you're so slow and stupid, you can't keep up. And you can say that, and it'll forget what you said in a few minutes anyway because it has a very short-term memory. So we wanted to be in a stream of consciousness. And what was your writing speed?
Mine was about 23 to 2,400.
2,400 words an hour. Is the fastest that your left brain can keep up with is about 500 to 600 words per hour. So you're writing 4 times as fast as it can disseminate the information. So that's why it's confused. Okay. But it's going to be, do any one of you have someone in your life that is overly concerned about you? You know? That's always thinking you're going to do something wrong. And what's really, that person's really scared of is you do something right and you didn't have a chance to be a part of it. That's your left brain, okay? It's always going to be a doubting part of you. And now that's good in a lot of cases because it makes you pay taxes and stop at stop signs and all that. But when it comes to writing, it does the opposite of what you need to do. So don't even worry about reading anything until you've finished whatever you're working on, okay? Thanks. This gentleman. Yes, sir.
How would the speed technique affect something a project you've already started or in the middle of?
Can you tell me a little bit more about that product?
I've just been writing a novel.
But just been writing a novel. That's pretty brave of you. How long have you just been writing a novel?
Depends. Sometimes a lot, and sometimes not.
For how long? I mean, when did you?
Months.
Okay. So the question: how many of you have partially finished works? Okay, so that's really what you're asking about. I already started something, Tom. What the hell should I do with it? And if I start writing fast, will the writing be so different that what I've written up to this point is bull, right? I could tell you right now that any writing you've done up to this point, whether it be journaling, working on a novel, writing greeting cards, has not been a waste of time. It's given yourself the opportunity to exercise a certain muscle. So whether it ends up being a novel or it just ends up being an exercise, either way it was invaluable. So you need to let it be whatever it is, okay? Second of all, if you've already begun work on a book and you want to attend a retreat, you know what my advice to you is? Don't do any writing until you get to the retreat. Because we don't want to, if you started writing something that's of a left brain nature, we don't want to over-exercise that muscle because that muscle will get in our way when we try to run the race ourselves. When you get to the retreat, bring what you've got. Bring the novel, okay? and see what comes up at the retreat. And if it's that novel and it takes off on chapter 4, for example, where the novel left off, go with it, baby. Write it to the end. And then when you're done, wrap it around the beginning for those first 3 chapters so it's consecutive, consistent all the way through the flow. Okay? You may find, and this is normally what we find, is when somebody comes with an idea or something they've been working on, that idea or what they've been working on will go to a higher level of expression, which is what you're concerned about. It goes to that higher level of expression, and then that material that they wrote is integrated into the greater whole of the deeper expression. Does that make sense? So you may be writing on something, oh, I wrote this already. Instead of writing that chapter over again, you say, I wrote this chapter 7 already. I'll go to chapter 8 now. And you plug it in, then when you come through revision, you can smooth it over. But there's no wasted writing. But it will be different at a retreat than doing it on your own. It just will be. This is a very intense experience. Thank you for that question. Other questions? Got a lady in the back corner, Lise? You're so quiet.
Yeah, to this guy's point, mine's not a novel. It's like a workshop in a book, and it's probably 2/3, 3/4 of the way done.
Okay. Is this a workshop that I'm assuming you've taught before? You've been teaching it for a while?
Mm-hmm.
What's the workshop on, if you don't mind me asking?
It's called Igniting Your Intentions. It's
Okay.
creativity.
We have a strain of writer that comes to our retreats, which I would say composes about 25% of our retreat members. People such as you that have accomplished something significant, held a workshop, come up with a different philosophy in life, whatever. And they're an expert in their field, in that field. When they come into the retreats, they've got stuff done almost to the man, almost to the person. They've almost got stuff done. You know, and they come in and they ask questions. I've got about 2/3 of the way done. I've got halfway done. I've read the whole book, but I know it's not done. What we find out consistently for that 25%, that 25%, is those people have the knowledge down, but they haven't let their voice come through.
Well, that's what I kind
See.
of got with the writing that we did today.
Yeah, see, so
It was like,
what we birth is their voice. See, so they write down all the technical aspects of the information, the workbook, for example, but they know it's something's missing. You know what's missing? Is them.
Right.
See, because really, in today's world, we buy the person, not the product. We buy the person, then we'll take the product. But we don't buy the product without the person. And any time that you're trying to help someone increase the quality of their life, that's a very intimate relationship. That's because there has to be a lot of trust, okay? And if you're not laying it out, they ain't buying it. If you're not willing to extend your hand out, they have nothing to latch on to. So the thing I would guesstimate that's missing from your work is your voice, okay? Now, they say that when a woman goes through a natural childbirth, and I wouldn't know this directly, obviously, hopefully that's obvious, she births her own divinity, okay? And having gone through the midwife experience and with my daughter and things, and being extremely well educated by some midwives, I would say that's the case, even though I didn't experience it directly. When you write a book, you are birthing a certain aspect of yourself. And your voice, of a certain voice and message will come out that's been there forever, that hasn't had enough room to get out up until that point. But the delivery is the most important thing. Even beyond the message which you already have, the voice is more important. Because people won't buy the message until they have the voice.
So that would come out in the 3-day.
It will come out. And I got to tell you, I wish I could say, take what I've given you and go home and do it on your own. And some people may be able to, but the influence of the group and the guidance is essential to be able to do that, especially the influence of the group. For the first 6 to 8 hours of the retreat, I hold space for the group. I train to do that. I train my body, I train my spirit, and it's hard. You know, I'm staying there until the group takes over on its own. And then the group energy is much more powerful than what I can hold. And then the group has a certain depth to it. And that group has a certain depth to it that it gives to each individual there that that individual probably wouldn't be able to get on his or her own. That's why the retreat environment is so important. I have people that come to me and say, well, can I just write a book with you? And I charge huge prices for them to do that because I know how hard a work it is to hold space for them. Where if they come to a group, charge a few $100 and it's going to work much better for them, work much better for me. So that's where the group environment comes. It'll bring that voice out of you. It'll bring the voice out of the group and it'll bring the voice out of you. And that's the one thing that's probably missing, which is normal. Okay? Other questions? Right up here.
Mine's an illustrated book I'm working on.
What's that?
An illustrated book.
Okay.
I've got 82 dragons I drew in 6 weeks. So that was like the high that I was going through.
Sure.
And I'm trying to write what it is. It's like I have a Robin Hood dragon, and I'm trying to just, in 2 paragraphs, what he did. And then I got a Hercules one, and I do, in 2 paragraphs, what he did.
Okay, you're going to end up going, let me tell you what's going to happen. I hope you don't mind me cutting you off. I just got a vision.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Sedona, I can say that. Not be thought to be too weird. Okay, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make the words fit with the pictures. And you got to understand there's the illustrations and there's the words, and let them come together on their own. Don't write the words to the illustrations. Put the illustrations aside. Put them in a drawer. Write the words. Let the book come out, and then bring them together. Okay, but the reason you're having a difficult time with the words is because you're asking them to fit into a shoe size that may be too small for them. You understand?
Yeah.
So don't step it away, push away. Don't make it so conditional. Okay. Remember, there's that old saying, what picture's worth 1,000 words? Yeah, well, the words got to lead you to those pictures, you know what I'm saying? So the words are crying out to be expanded and allowed to grow. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I hope so.
That was my hardest part, was all these like 2-paragraph inserts for each picture.
Yeah. So push the illustrations away. Literally put them in a drawer and let the book write itself. And then you'll be surprised how well the two merge together. But anytime we have preconceived notions, those come from the left brain. And the left brain is, I got to tell you something. I know I sound like a left brain basher. But every success that you've ever had in your life, your left brain has led you to. The only problem we have is in the area of writing, the left brain has been improperly trained to lead us away from the writing. See, because in all of our lives, at some point in our distant past, we were told to be quiet. Sometimes cruelly, sometimes consistently. Sometimes sometimes things were said to us like, "Can't you shut up? Can't speak when you're spoken to. Did anyone ever tell you talk too much?" And at one time, when that was said to us, sometime way back, one part we don't even remember, we began to equate pain with openness. So the left brain, being the good friend that it is, the left brain's job is to keep us away from pain. So I said, deep, heartfelt expression, sir, equals pain. So you probably were silent, went through parochial school for quite a while until you discovered alcohol. Like all good parochial students do, and priests. So at some point around the age of 8 to 10, you began to write because you were told to. All of a sudden that deep, heartfelt expression came out through your writing again. The left brain said, deep, heartfelt expression equals pain. If we write and it leads us to deep, heartfelt expression, that means writing's bad. You see? So that's why we have avoided it. The left brain's kept us away from it. It causes us to over-edit it. So we have to retrain the left brain. So that's why we have to ostracize the left brain from the experience until we can get a book written. Because your left brain looks at you and says, "You're not an author. You never wrote a book. Like, you're not a paper boy until you have a paper route, right?" So we got to ostracize it until we get the book done, and then it looks and says, "Okay, you are an author, and we don't want to look like an idiot. So we're going to get involved with this. We're going to help you promote it, and we're going to help you publicize it, and we're going to help you publish it, because we don't want you to look like an idiot. So that's when the two brains merge back together and work well together. But until then, we have to ostracize the left brain from the experience. And your left brain's trying to take over your writing experience and just squashing the heck out of it. Okay?
I've already written and published a book. Do you have any services regarding how to do publicity?
Absolutely.
Is that,
You talk to my man Rama.
because
Yeah, we
I
do.
do want to write another one. But
Well, let me tell you. we
that one took
if
me
you haven't
10
caught
years.
on yet, we're pretty innovative. You know, we're pretty ballsy to come out and say you can write a book in a weekend. Well, not only that, we can help books become bestsellers, literally help them become bestsellers through conventional but brand new methods within a few months. Yes. And see, in the progression of writing in the past, you would have to devote years to getting to that bestseller status. And then that was just a status, okay? It was a calling card. We can get people there in months. And then from that point forward, you can use that to disseminate your name and get greater readership and sales. So talk to Ram about that. He'll be happy to devote his time to you, especially if you buy him a drink or two. Other questions? Are there any questions that came in through the internet that we wanted to read?
You know, I've been mostly just
Answering them.
But there are people concerned about what this gentleman was talking about, some of the more analytical
The research.
aspects, research. I think that there are a lot of, this is a hard concept for all of us to realize, you know, how good these things come out if we write them fast and don't look at them. And I remember when I wrote my my first book, you know, I couldn't believe that it would have, you know, consistency, and it does. You know, I questioned Tom on everything he told me. I didn't believe a thing. And he turned out to be right on literally everything.
And I never let him forget it. Yeah, so again, what I'm talking to you about is not what I want to be true, not based on something that I read that said it was true. What I'm talking about is what I've experienced. I first experienced it myself. I wrote my first book telling you based upon what I told you, but I didn't know if it would work or not. I was just desperate and ran out of all alternatives, and it worked. I used the next few books to try to figure out what I did so I could explain it to other people. But these two things we see consistently. We, in our publishing program, for a considerable period of time, we didn't take on any books that didn't come through the retreats because, quite frankly, the ones that didn't come through the retreats were so far away from being publishable material that we couldn't move them through at our price. We'd have to pay our editors a lot more. And so normally I would just say to a person, why don't you just come to a retreat, rewrite this sucker, and we'll do it right this time. But we harness all the things that work and ostracize all the things that don't. Okay, at a retreat, I'm there, Ram is there, Gwen's there, we're there, three of us there for different purposes. But we're there, everybody reaches a point where there's a blockage, something that happens. And that blockage is an opportunity, okay? When you have a pain in your arm, that's an opportunity to maybe release a blockage that's been holding you back in a lot of ways for a long time. Gwen comes in and gets involved with that. Somebody has a concern about their material being good enough, Rama gets involved with that. In the flow, somebody has a problem with the flow, I'm involved with that. So those little crucial moments, even though there aren't a lot of them, there are crucial moments. They're defining moments that determine whether you're going to make it and go on or quit and die unhappy. Seriously, it's that important. It's that important. We haven't had, I don't remember anyone ever walking out of one of our retreats. But again, we put people in a group setting, and it's like a sweat lodge, you know. I'd rather sit there and burn than walk out of here like a coward. Rather die a hero. And so people stay through their stuff, but we're there to support them. And we're kind of like literary midwives. We help birth books. That's what we do. And so some people will come up to us and say, well, do you do novels or just nonfiction? Do you hear a midwife say, well, do you specialize in boys or girls? It's a baby, man. You know? They're all babies. And whether it's a children's book, a screenplay, a novel, we don't care. We don't care. All we want to do is help you birth it. And the first time you write a book, about 85% of the energy that you will expend comes through educating yourself and going through the stuff you have to go through. After the first book, it's a lot easier because there isn't as much understanding or transition. There's just more expression. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Gwen, would you get the lanterns, the jack-o'-lanterns? Did you all get tickets for those drawings we were going to have? Pull out your little red tickets. The jack-o'-lanterns are here. Come on up. Ren, you shook these up? These are all shook up? All right. First drawing will be, how many of you saw my book out there? You Can Write a Book in a Weekend, publish a book in a weekend. #1 Amazon bestseller 2 weeks ago. Using our system. That's how I know it works. All right, so this drawing will be for half-price spaces to write your book in a weekend retreat. So go ahead. But you're picking it out. You're the Vanna White of this. Oh, we got a few more. Hold on. Ren, these are all mixed up? Okay. Did we specify a number of these we're going to give away? 4. Anyone else? Now you all have your tickets, right? Yes. 1 in each. You are bound to win nothing that way. Go home with virgin tickets. He's got the number on them, though. Okay. Pick one. Pick one.
Is that the number? 79?
It's number 79. That's a remote person. Oh, well, what we did, we have 90 people attending on a remote basis, and they obviously couldn't show up and grab tickets. So we wrote on the back of this up to 90. So this is a remote person, number 79. Do you know who that is, Ren?
Marcus Thorndike.
Marcus Thorndike. Come on down. Okay, number 2. No, pick one out of here.
Oh, okay. 34.
We got to draw one too. That's another remote. It is. They think we're just keeping him here just to jerk him off.
Let's see. Car, it looks like.
Yes.
Car?
Joanne?
Yeah.
286? Right? That's you. Come on up. Get a half price one. Tell Rama. Yeah, so Ren. You want a brand new car. It's a brand new old car. Remember the Yugos they used to have? Well, we've got one just for you. The throwaway cars, yeah.
Okay. Oops. All right. Deborah.
Deborah? Deborah, what ticket number do you have? How about 274-6478? Yes. Come on up. Now you can choose which one you want to go to. Is that Deborah Baker? Of course it's Deborah Baker. You'll just tell Ren. You want me to draw 2 more just for the hell of it? Because you're being so patient. All right. Maybe draw a few more. They're being so good. They're so parochial.
There's nothing on here.
Well, they read the ticket number off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
274-6487. Does that match?
Man, good thing you got in. See Ren. On the way out. Half price retreat. Okay, here you go.
Another one. Cindy.
Cindy.
Nichols.
Look, Nichols. That's you. Oh, good. We got some non-remote people. That's good. On your way out to see Ren, you can register for whatever retreat you want to. What else do we have? Oh, this is that was to the retreat in 2013, the ones that these are just for. These are for 2014.
Ren, did you get the numbers for the remote people?
Okay, draw from this one. By the way, Gwen's doing a great job.
20, I think that's a remote.
It is 20.
Okay.
Draw another one. 2014.
15, another remote.
15. Those remote people, man, they're hot. You'll come remote next time.
Okay, Sigrid? Is that right?
Sacred?
Okay, well, I can only do one.
Yes. There you go. You can just go back there to Ren. Just let her know. Thanks.
Another one?
Another one.
Okay, this one's blank too.
Read off the number. Yell bingo if it's you.
2746588.
Ah, there you go. What's your name, sir? Mark. See Ren. Draw another one. What the heck? This is starting to be 40. Those remote people are hot.
Yeah.
40.
Okay.
Draw one.
One more?
One more. Draw two more.
To work when I stir it up. 21.
21. And you guys just don't have the luck. Draw another one. Ah, this is going to be a good one.
2746469.
469. All right. Yeah, let Ren know that's for a 2014 retreat. Draw another one. What the heck?
What the heck?
This is starting to be fun.
Gosh, I can't read that.
Cynthia Dahlstrom. You were writing like crazy too. Great. So you get half off at a 2014 retreat, any one that you choose. What's that? Plenty of time to pay for it. Take payment programs if you're like my daughter. You'll send to show up with a bag of pennies, uncounted. Do one more, and then we'll go to the last drawing.
Okay. Let's see.
This is the best part. Oh, no.
Toss it back in. It's a
No,
remote.
no, got 67 to choose one. Choose one more non. 67, Ren. 2.
Oh, I just went back in. I didn't even wait for you to.
Go. All right, there's the last one.
Caroline.
Caroline. Sweet Caroline. Where's Caroline? All right. See Ren for 2000. And the last drawing we're going to have are for 3 copies of my books. We only have 2 of them here tonight. The other one we'll have to owe you. All right. You're doing a hell of a job, by the way. There's a career in this for you.
Profit, then. Alea?
Alea? All right. On the way out, make sure you get the books from Ren, okay?
44?
I don't hear a bingo.
Geo?
Geo. Is that a car?
No.
Plymouth? Is Plymouth here too?
Not
Geo?
Not the same spelling. No?
Yeah, what's the number on it?
Let's see. Oh, no, I've hidden it. Here it is. It's 2746541.
Hey! GLO.
Oh, glow. Okay.
Glow.
Apologies. Yeah. 76.
Well, pick one from here.
I'm trying. Okay, I'll look for the writing. Emily.
Emily, pick up some books on the way out. Let's do one more because they're so nice, but they've been so unlucky. Doug? Cooper? Well, read that number.
Read the number. 2746382.
Hey, pick up your books on the way out. Thank you, Gwen. Yeah, okay. So, our time to close has just come to ending. Does anyone have any last minute questions? Yes. Santana's still alive? I saw him back in 72. CS will work out something. Hey, thank you for being here tonight. We're going to have a publishing class in about a month or so. We'll let you know about it. Okay, now, when we send out the information, if you haven't let us know about it already, that you want to attend, let us know as soon as you can, so we can fit about 60 in here. Otherwise, you got to do the remote thing. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and if you want to register for any of the retreats, you can do it on the way out, too.